President Akufo-Addo has charged the newly sworn-in members of the Council of State not to adopt the posture of busybody members, but to make sound contributions and add value to the council to enrich his presidency. The president has also urged the members to be quick at offering advice to the Chief Justice, Governor of the Bank of Ghana, the Office of the President, and other state institutions whenever they identify a mix-up in the discharge of their work. He said this at the swearing-in ceremony of two fresh members of the council, Major General Richard Baden, retired, and Alhaji Abubakar Abdul Rahman. The two are to replace Alhaji Mukhtar Sahanoun and Nana Obri Ejiri II, who died this year.
Members of the council, our elders say that it is always better to get the benefit of two or more opinions than to rely on one viewpoint. I believe the Akan saying goes Tikron Kwejina. In our custom, therefore, no matter how smart or how well endowed, every chief or leader has a group of elders to advise him or her. The framers of our Constitution found it necessary to establish a Council of State to give impartial and objective advice to the President. It is important, therefore, that regardless of your background, you would carry out your duties dispassionately. The Council has a broad scope of advisory functions in counseling the President. It plays an important advisory role in the appointment of high officials of state, like the Chief Justice of the Republic, the Governor of the Bank of Ghana, the heads of the nation's security services, officials of the President's office, and other critical officers of the state. Again, according to Article 90, the President can request the Council to consider amendments to bills either before they are passed or even if after they are passed by Parliament. Further, Article 91, Clause 3 of the Constitution gives the Council what appears to be an unfettered remit to advise other bodies like Parliament or any other authority. In my view, this is not meant to be a busybody charter, but on matters of significant national importance, the Council can let its views be known. As a distinguished soldier and public servant, and a successful businessman and politician, you both have the quality of experience that can enhance the work of the Council. You're joining a council that has proven so far to be very effective in its deliberations. It is my hope and expectation that you will make sound contributions to the proceedings of the Council and thereby add value to its output and help enrich my presidency for the benefit of the Ghanaian people.
President Akufo-Addo there. Now, staff of the Ghana Grid Company have announced a sit-down strike beginning today until further notice. The sit-down strike, according to a statement from the senior staff, is expected to be followed by picketing at the Gridco head office at a date to be announced later by the staff group leadership. Gridco runs the National Interconnected Transmission System, which ensures that the transmission of electricity from wholesale supplies, thus generating companies, to bulk customers, which include the ECG, NETCO, among others, get the supplies. The Gridco staff are demanding that some 250 million cedis, which President Akufo-Addo directed the finance minister to pay Gridco, is paid. Chairman of the staff union, Raphael Kono, gave details of the strike on News Desk earlier.
The strike is in vogue. It started this morning, and management called for an emergency meeting. So in the midst of the strike, we'll be having the meeting. And so we are preparing to go for that meeting, which is at 3 p.m. We can't speak the mind of management. We don't know what the institutions we have petitioned have told them. And so we are going to listen and listen to them. We are rational beings and professional people. So we will take the decision when we get there and the outcome of the meeting. We have not gotten any feedback, and that has triggered the action that we are embarking on today.
It's day 3 of the nationwide strike by 3 teacher unions. Our JoyNews' Northeast Region correspondent has been visiting some schools in the area to monitor the impact of the nationwide strike. Well, we're gathering that public schools are closed while children stay outside playing. Teaching staff did not show up today. Only headmasters come around to ensure that school properties are protected. Some of them also say they come in to monitor the children and ensure they are sent back home safely. Some teachers who spoke off camera say they weren't happy with the Ghana Education Service's handling of their grievances. In an area where education enrollment is quite low, children are already seen accompanying parents to farm and other workplaces. Ilyasu Tanko joins me on the line with details. Ilyasu.
Hi, Gifty.
Ilyasu, we've had this conversation that it's really easy for children to stay out of school, especially in the remote parts of the country. Now, this strike is enforcing that perception already. Tell us what you found today when you went out.
Exactly, and this is the area where lack of infrastructure and poverty has been affecting education. And so today, when I checked around to find out the impact of this particular strike action, I saw a lot of children already accompanying their parents to farms, some of the children also wandering about in town, and some of the teachers. In fact, most of the schools that I've visited, the children tells me that the teaching staff have not showed up since Monday when this particular strike action started. And they have been coming to school all the time just to play. When they get tired, they go back home. I met one of the children from a community that is about 7 kilometers from the Nalirgo township, and they have to always come walk from that particular community to the school found here in the Nalirgo township. And the teachers will not show up, and they'll have to walk back to their community. And that is happening since Monday when this particular strike action started. And so it's been a very tough situation here. The children that I've spoken to tells me that they really want their teachers to come back to classes so that they can learn and write their exam.
Ilya, so the first time that we spoke, which was Monday, you indicated to us that some of the national service personnel who showed up on Monday said they did not know anything about the strike, and so they were going back home. Has that situation changed? Because elsewhere, for example, in the Ashanti region, national service personnel are actually taking up teaching roles.
Of course, that was in the Wale area, but in the Nalirgo township here, because of the profit lack of, teachers here, the schools that I visited, some of them do not even have, national service personnel. Only one school, that is the Nabohagu Junior High School that I went to, and I spoke to a staff who pleaded anonymity, and he told me that the entire school has only one national service personnel, and this personal official will not be able to take care of the entire school. And so, of course, this particular national service officer is also staying at home, and there's no any arrangement or whatsoever for teaching and learning to continue in these schools here.
Thank you very much, Ilyasu Tanko. Quite an unfortunate situation. Ilyasu Tanko is our Northeast regional correspondent. We'll stay a little longer in the northern part of the country. Some students of the Kaladan SDA Junior High School say they fear they will not be able to assess themselves before they write the basic education certificate examination. Dansua Amponsa Victoria tells JoyNews the mock examination is a point to identify her weaknesses and correct them before the final exams. But as it stands now, she doesn't even know her fate.
Strike is affecting us because we paid our mock fee, and we even put pressure on our parents, and they paid the mock fee for us. And that was 9th. They told us that we start the mock on 9th. We came to school on 9th, and we wrote only one paper. That was English. And they told us that if you write, some people will attack us, and it's affecting us because we write the mock, and we will now know our weakness. The way we can prepare, we will even prepare for the BEC, if we are qualified to prepare to write the BEC or not. But if we don't write the mock, we will know.
Affecting me. Anytime my father would wake me up to learn because we are going to write exams. And I will learn. And when I come to school, we will write the exams. And my father will give me money and I'll come and spend it without learning. So that's how it affects me.
Some of the affected students, they're sharing their stories with our correspondent. Martina joins me on the line. She's been interacting with these students. Martina.
Yes, Gifty.
Martina, what's the situation in your area?
Well, the situation is serious in the northern region, especially the metropolis. Most of the schools I visited to this morning, the schools are empty. I was at the Sakasaka Primary School. I was at Full Matoria. I was at Kalpohini SDA, AM Zion Full, and then Calendar SDA. All these schools were locked up. The students were asked to go. Nobody was there to actually monitor them. So the students themselves just went home. And so these schools are all locked up. Just a few, like Zosimli, who still have the students themselves taking care of themselves. But most of the schools are closed. And so you go through the metropolis, you either see the students going home or just loitering around the metropolis.
So between Monday and today, the situation seems to be deteriorating. At first, we heard about how the students went to school, the teachers were there, they were not teaching. We have various scenarios like teachers present but not teaching, teachers not present at all. Now, the schools are being locked up. That's the situation on the ground, correct?
That's a situation, yes. You go to the school and no teacher is there. The students just lock up the place and then they go back.
And just to be clear, has there been any response at all? We've been trying to get local authorities to respond to this situation on the ground. Have they done anything like this?
No, nobody's ready to speak.
Martina, thank you very much for that update. Martina Bugri there, who has been interacting with some students affected by the ongoing strike. It is day 3, and it looks like it is still continuing unabated. Away from that, aggrieved customers of collapsed savings and loans companies have expressed disappointment at how government has treated them over their locked-up funds. They want government to form a consolidated savings and loans company to address their problems as been done for customers of the universal banks and investment companies. Prince Apia was at the press briefing and joins me with more. Hello, Prince.
Hello, Gifty.
Prince, first of all, help us to identify who these people are. Who really are they when they call themselves aggrieved customers of closed down financial institutions?
So these people are customers of the collapsed 23 savings and loans and finance house companies. Remember that on the 16th of August this year, the Bank of Ghana revoked the licenses of some 23 savings and loans and finance house companies. And these customers, these people who did a press conference earlier today, are customers of this particular savings and loans companies that have been collapsed and licensing revoked.
We know that there was some sort of arrangement where they could go and put in their details and then later, with the hope of later retrieving their monies. I mean, don't they know about that arrangement, or is it not enforced?
Okay, so what they are saying is that there is a cap of 10,000 Ghana cedis that was later pushed to 20,000 Ghana cedis for customers who are found in this particular bracket. They are expected to go to the banks, the CBG banks, to get some of their money. They are saying that majority of them have money more than the 20,000 cap, and that they want the government to remove that cap and try and pay all the money. Again, what they are saying is that they are only reduced to waiting to receive a text message from the bank before they are able to go to the CBG to retrieve their money. So they are saying that it is so inconvenient for them, and they want the authorities to change it. They believe that how the customers of the universal banks are being treated, where the CBG has absorbed them and they are being given some payment structure, says should be established for the savings and loans and the microfinance, so that they can also get their money paid in that tranche and structure.
Mm. And how many people are we looking at here?
There are more than 1.3 million people.
Well, interesting. Prince, thank you very much for that update from the press conference. Prince Appiah has been following a press conference by people affected by the closure of some savings and loans institutions. Now, a progress report on the assessment of the NPP's election promises by policy think tank Imani Africa has scored government's 23.6% under governance, corruption and public accountability. The report found that while two key promises, that's the establishment of the Office of the Special Prosecutor and the passage of the RTI bill, have been fulfilled, corruption perception of state agencies is still very high. Research consultant at Imani Africa, Dennis Asari, during the presentation of some of the findings, revealed a number of promises, such as ensuring the strict enforcement of the Public Procurement Act to cut out corruption, plus the establishment of a corruption reporting website, have not been achieved. Komla Adum was at the news conference. He joins me with details. Komla, how did Imani come up with these figures, and what was the methodology used?
According to Imani Africa, they looked at 5 broad themes: that governance, which under it we have corruption, public accountability, etc. We have economy, and then social services, and then human capital development, under which there is health and education, and then infrastructure development, which has road, energy, and power, etc. And so according to Imani Africa, they used audit reports, for example. They use budget documents, supplementary budgets, progress reports, parliamentary Hansards, and websites of state agencies as the reference material to be able to aggregate these promises that the NPP made while they were campaigning, and then were able to do the tracking to know how many of them have been achieved, how many of them are still being implemented and not fully achieved, and how many of them are almost getting achieved. And so those were the basic matrix that Imani Africa says were considered when we were putting together this particular report.
Walk us through the other sector ratings that came up in this report. Come on.
Right. So, Gipsy, for example, in the infrastructure sector, which looks at energy, Imani Africa rates government performance 43.78%, which is the number of promises that were made in that sector, and those that have been achieved so far. The computation gave 43.78%. So, for example, they speak about promises that were fulfilled, such as ending doomsday, for example, reducing electricity tariffs, also conducting some technical audits or power purchase agreements, and also the moving of the car partnership from Tema to Takrady. Those are some of the promises that Imani found have been fulfilled so far. On the other side, when you look at promises that are yet to be fulfilled, they speak about the increasing of the share of renewables in the generation mix. That has not been fully achieved yet. They also speak about the expansion of torque capacity. They say that has also not been fully achieved. They also talk about the refining of oil produced domestically, and also ensuring the independence of the Ghana National Petroleum Corporation. Those are yet to be fulfilled. So when you aggregate a score of 43.78% was arrived at. Let me also just quickly run by you another sector, which is the human capital investment or development sector, specifically education. Imani scores the performance 39.13% under education, because they say, for example, when it comes to redefining basic education to include senior high schools, etc., which was a promise they made, that has been achieved. They have also restored teacher training allowances. Nursing training allowances have been restored as well. And so those are the implemented promises so far. When it comes to those that are yet to be implemented, for example, they speak about a promise by the NPP that they were going to ensure that there will be 2 technical and vocational institutions in every region in the country, and also go ahead to provide Wi-Fi in all senior high schools. They say those are yet to be fulfilled, and so when you look at those, the aggregate score is 39.13. Interestingly, there's also the bit about school feeding program, which we know.
Well, looks like we lost Komla there, unfortunately, but he's given us quite a lot of information from that. We'll bring you more in our subsequent bulletins. And right now, let's move away from that manifesto, because a memorandum of understanding has been signed between members of the Fulani ethnic group in the Mampurugu, the traditional area, and the chiefs there. The signing of the document was after a long and exhaustive meeting held in Nalerugu on Tuesday with National Executive of a Fulani Welfare Group, Tabital Pulaku, and some other senior members of the Mamprugu Council. The event was necessary following months of communal tensions over grazing royalties imposed on nomadic herders in the area, which the chiefs had accused some of the herders of refusal to pay. The herders had also accused the traditional committee in charge of collecting the royalties of terrorizing their villages and camps and stealing their livestock. Also refuting the allegations of non-payment, the herders said their concern has been the way the imposed royalties are collected and demanded that the committee headed by Chief Johnson Tahidu should be scrapped. It was agreed, among others, that a new modality of collecting the royalties should be introduced and that should take effect next year. The chiefs, however, refused to scrap the Crow Committee, and the first elder of the Nairi Tarana, John Wuni Gruma, presented the agreement.
The Crow Committee, in collecting the cattle, will go to the sub-chief and invite the Fulanis to come with their royalties. Then we will say that the royalties will be a cow per crow. Then we say that the cows should be at least 2 years. We are yet talking about that. And then the crow should be from 1 to 120 cows. That's what we consider as a crow. We are saying that in view of the traditional nature of the matter, of this relationship, issues pertaining to the crow should be brought before the traditional authority through the village Fulani chiefs to the sub-chiefs, and wherever they can settle it, and when they cannot, it can come to the overlord at the traditional council. We are also saying that now we don't want this idea of carrying guns by the committee members. So if they are going to the trial, to the chief, there's no occasion that the trial committee members should carry guns.
The General Secretary of Tabital Pulaku, Alhaji Musa Bari, welcomed the new arrangement and thanked the chiefs for agreeing to a dialogue. He promised to ensure full compliance of the consensus on the part of the herders.
We normally take the crowns. They go there armed, as named as task forces. They go to the Fulanis and pick what they want. And this was our challenges that we came in for. And then they came out to say maybe now they will not be at the headsmen's places. They will go right up to the sub-chiefs. So the headsmen should submit their royalties yearly to the sub-chiefs, so that the sub-chief will submit it to the paramount. I think that is very good. And then also they said every year. Every year was my challenge, because for the past, it is two years that they take a cow. And then they signified that they needed a 2-year-old cow for a year, which I find it very difficult. And I pleaded to them, they should do it 2 years for that 2-year cow. Once it's a 2-year cow, at least if I come to your district or your land and I have a cow of maybe 6 months, at least by a year I can't give you 2-year cow. My logic is that they should allow it to be the same 2 years. And they say, okay, they will see to it. Let's implement what we put on the ground, and by 3 months we should come to the table again and agree or disagree, and then we put it in the paper. It is a very big challenge, because these are the people that are causing the harm.
To other stories now, the abnormal condition of 3 children living with a growth disorder in Asante Achim North District of the Ashanti region has left their parents devastated. Father of the stunted children, aged between 6 and 15, says he is overburdened by the task of giving them special care amid resource constraints. My colleague Ohime Interior has been finding out what could be wrong medically with the family and has come through with this report.
7-year-old Alan John Kremo and his family relocated to Nsinyamiye after herdsmen attacked and burnt down their hamlet at Abewa Nko about a year ago. Life has since been difficult for the Kremos, though the couple is blessed with 4 children from a 23-year-old marriage.
Gani Muhammad is 15 years, Hajia Tene is 12 years, and Rukia Muhammad is 6. I wonder how I gave birth to physically challenged children. I cannot tell if it is a matter of destiny.
The children, who were born normal, developed strange characteristics as they grew. Meet the eldest of them, 15-year-old Ganiu Mohammed, who can hardly walk for 10 minutes because of weak limbs. He aspires to become a journalist, though his condition has confined him to class 5 for 4 years.
I want to further my education, get a job and take care of my parents. It is my dream to become a journalist. I want to work on radio and television.
Comparing him to the pupils in his class, he's doing well. He's doing well. Comparing him and looking at his condition, he's doing an industrious child. He is somebody who likes challenges, and I think he's serious with his education.
Ganiu's 2 siblings, 12-year-old Hajia Tene and Rukaya Mohammed 6, both have similar conditions.
My father is poor, but there is little his children can do to help him. We can't because we are physically challenged.
Ganiu does not look his age as his condition confines him to class 5, a situation he regrets.
It saddens my heart when I compare myself with my mates. I'm physically challenged. They are strong. I usually place 4th or 5th in class.
Teachers at Nsunyamiye DA Basic School lament over inability of Ganiu's parents to provide his educational needs.
He needs special attention. If you get time for him, you do well. Ganiu, looking at his condition, walking it becomes a problem for him. So for him to walk even from the house to the school, sometimes he finds it difficult. So I think if he gets a wheelchair, it will help his movements. And then the books, the parents have challenges in buying books for him.
But the Department of Social Welfare and Community Development says it will need medical report on the children to determine what kind of support to give them. Doctors at Komfanochi Teaching Hospital have examined the children but say they require a series of other tests to ascertain the cause and treatment.
They have skeletal deformities. You can see that the bony framework, there is something wrong, whether you can see their chest protruding, and then there is a curvature along the spine. We've seen quite few cases of these. There are not many. I think this is mucopolysaccharidosis, an inborn error of metabolism.
Dr. Emmanuel Amiyao is endocrinologist.
So we are going to do X-ray of the limbs. We'll do X-ray of the chest. We'll also do X-ray of the spine. And then we'll do abdominal ultrasound to see the extent of the enlargement of the liver and the spleen, and also look at the texture to see if there is any, it's normal or there are any infiltration. We'll also do some biochemical investigation. We'll do urine GAG, that is urine glycosaminoglycan. In addition to that, we also want to do other investigations.
From Kumasi for JoyNews, Ohimintiria reporting.
Some books needed there, some wheelchair needed there before we even start to talk about correcting that condition. Hopefully help comes through for them. Now, the 6-year-old boy who was tortured by his uncle has now undergone treatment at the Greater Regional Hospital. Medaul's uncle boiled the hands of the little boy in water for picking up food to eat at the kitchen. The boy said he was hungry. After suffering the ordeal of partially rotten fingers, Medaul could barely move his hands. He's been speaking to JoyNews about why he cannot wait to move around again. Agape Kwenu's reports for JoyNews.
Midday was soundly asleep when we got to the hospital. Waking up to talk to the team, Midday's face was lit with innocence and smiles. After about a month of being at the Rich Hospital, he said he had missed playing with his friends back at home, but he wishes to live with his mother than return to his uncle's house. He said he aspires to be a doctor in future. Head of the Social Welfare Unit, Augustina Gati Poha, who has been monitoring the boy's progress, said he is much better now. According to her, the cost of the treatment is about 4,000 cedis. She made an appeal for financial support so that the boy can be discharged from the hospital and cautioned parents against entrusting the care of their children to guardians.
There wasn't surgery, it was wound dressing. They did debridement and he's been discharged because he's fine. He needs to be doing wound dressing every other day, which involves some money. And the discharge bill too has not been paid. The discharge bill is 3,489 Ghana cedis. So we are pleading with meaning Ghanaians to support, philanthropies to support for the mother and the boy to get back to Togo so that she can enroll them in school. So far, we as a unit haven't received any fund on their behalf. It is the hospital that managed everything, the drugs and everything. We got them from the hospital pharmacy and we use them. We are liaising with some NGOs to seek for support for them. Right now, as the boy needs to be doing dressing, we can't guarantee they will do anything good when they get back to Togo. So we want to get them a place so that they will stay and they will continue treatment for us to be sure the wound is fully healed before they go. When we approximate and add to the total discharge bill, we may be needing about 10,000 Ghana cedis roughly. That is 100 million Ghana cedis. I would like to tell the general public before they give their children out for their extended families, they should know their socioeconomic status before they give them out, because some are not economically sound and so much stress on them and they end up maltreating the children.
Midday's mother expressed her heartfelt gratitude for the support offered by the hospital in ensuring the recovery of her son. She plans on returning to Togo with her children, but admits she lacks the resources to ensure the boy is well catered for.
I
am happy that my son is healing. I want to thank the hospital for their support. After his discharge, I would want to return to Togo with my children and find a better job to do. I want to appeal to the public to help me start a business.
Coming up in business, Head of Finance at the University of Ghana Business School, Professor Godfred Bokwin, calls on government to rationalize some tax exemptions to help rake in revenues for capital investments.
And all of the